everyone, this is Rachel Kirkland, the Modern Shaman. Thanks for being here for another YouTube question and answer video of this week. I always say, and I always will say, welcome if you are new. I am glad you're here. We celebrate you and have just a little bit of... It always reminds me when I say this welcome, it reminds me of kind of the pitch that they used to give at the beginning of church services where they're like, let's shake hands with everybody if they're new, you know? And like you have to turn around in the pew and shake hands with people that are new. This is the shaking hand time of our of our ceremonial YouTube get together. So if you're new, come and shake hands with the rest of this community, which means subscribe, like, share, and comment. Go to the webpage, which is themodernshaman.net, and find the various ways that you can connect with me when I will be touring in your area, any classes or lectures or workshops you want to be a part of, as well as the one-on-one sessions that I do here in my office in San Antonio or online via Skype and phone. And any of you guys that came out, that showed up this last weekend when I was in Dallas, lecturing there and at the Expo conference, and it was awesome. I loved it. So thanks for those of you guys that came out. There were a couple people that came to see me that had previously gotten to know me through my YouTube channel. So I love that. I love when I get to hug on you, body to body, like face to face, soul to soul, and see the energy that I have been connecting with energetically via this YouTube channel. It's a fun connection. Okay, so I will read the question of the week and then I'll just dive right into it. Here we go. Oh, if I didn't mention also, if you'd like to send in a question and you want your question to get put into the queue, just go to the website, go to that contact me page, and fill in the contact form and just note on there that this is a question for YouTube. Again, my website is themodernshaman.net. All right, here we go. It says, hey Rachel, how do you suggest dealing with people that constantly complain and don't do anything to help themselves? More so people that you're close to, such as your mother, your wife, or clients. How do you deal with people that you give advice to, but they don't just help themselves and listen to your advice or make any change? They just complain and stay in their same patterns and cycles. I appreciate everything you do, and I know as much as you know, it doesn't go unnoticed by the universe. I love this question. I love this question because, good Lord, how many of us have been there, right? Can I get an amen? Okay. This question, like the passive complainer, right? The one who, and whether, like he said, whether it's someone close to you in your personal circles, wife, mother, father, children, this circle, this tight little nuclear circle, or whether it's clients that come to you and are asking very overtly for advice, but choosing to stay in their same patterns or cycles. Great question. A lot of people can relate. So human, right? This is a good human processing question. Okay, so I'm gonna give you, I laugh every time I think about this, but okay, I gotta tell you a side story, and I promise it'll be a very short tangent. But so I got together recently with this wonderful, beautiful young woman who is starting to help me do these videos, just to take some things off of my list of to-dos, to help delegate some of my tasks. So she's doing some of the post editing and all this. And she's like, she's young, she's like 20 years younger than me. And she's like, you gotta know the YouTube algorithm. You gotta have 3 steps. You gotta have the title that's, she knew this algorithm, okay? And she's awesome. But I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I gotta do 3 steps. So the last video I did, she was like, yes, this is what we're trying to do. So I'm gonna try to make everything very palpable, very like easy bite, into 3 steps. Y'all can comment in this forum here if you like it or if you think it's totally cheesy. But it does give you a little bite-sized bit of the Snicker bar, you know, when they came out with the bite-sized snacks. So maybe it's a little more digestible and accessible to people. Like, all right, if I can just think of 3 things she's talking about, I don't have to keep it all in my head. So we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to break it down into 3 and focus myself very attentively and succinctly into 3 kind of words of wisdom, or 3 bits of suggestion that you asked for to suggest on how to deal with kind of passive complainers, right? First thing that I will suggest that I feel like Spirit puts first and foremost, because this is the way that Spirit deals with us. So if we look at the example of how our spirit guides, how the non-physical world, how God, the universe, source, whatever you want to title, a supreme energy beyond our conscious awareness, that energy deals with us and abides and upholds free will above any other system of law. And it is upheld in a space of divine respect and love. So this would be my first suggestion or piece of advice, would be to uphold with as much love and embodiment of respect for that individual or that client above any other thing. Basically, respect over control, or respect over a desire for them to change. Honoring the respect above the suggestion. Okay? Now, this is a higher energetic embodiment of love. The love that is unconditional, because this is how Source emanates its love towards us, right? And so even when you are called for advice, or called to for guidance, or paid in a session with a client for specifically helping them break those patterns, once it has left your mouth, once the energy has transmitted from you to them, it remains in the domain of their own free will. And to choose to uphold that with the tenacity of a monk, you know what I mean? With the I'm just going to be steadfast in my unconditional love, no matter what choice you make, no matter whether it's for or against what I have said, no matter if you throw my advice in the trash can and you walk out of here. It doesn't affect or change my level of love and respect for your own divine free will. This is highly valued and honored by the spiritual world. And it only benefits us when we align with that energy beyond the desire for something in this domain to change and shift. Even if we see them being uncomfortable, crying over that mistake, coming to you, I should have listened, still upholding with, again, the tenacity of someone steadfast in their love. Unconditionally, I will share my advice when you ask. I will let you walk your path completely on your own free will. Okay? That's my first piece of advice. I'm not saying that one's easy. It's not, especially when they're very close to you, because there can be pain and empathy, and you don't want to see someone hurt. You want them to choose to move into a pattern that doesn't harm or cause suffering to them. And sometimes in our own free will, we choose harm and suffering. That's the truth, okay? But it doesn't mean it's not the right path for them. So the second piece of advice that comes on top of the first is that you need to honor and respect and be aware that their pacing or their process time in life may be a very different speed than yours, okay? And it's always in perfection with their soul, meaning they may evolve at a completely different pace than you. And their pace is not better or worse than yours. There is no hierarchy of getting there sooner. It's an ever-evolving, ever-last-long process. So we are always evolving, but the speed and the pace at which we like to go varies dramatically from soul to soul. So keep this in mind when you see someone that feels like they're just repeating these cycles over and over and over. They may need that repetition, like a pebble at the bottom of the lake, on top of each other, until all the pebbles are enough for them to peek above the water and see clearly actually what they're living in or where they are and the details of this environment and the pattern. All right? Now, I have learned this lesson well because I move like a freaking locomotive. And my pace is fast moving. And this is how I like to do things. And I just like, once it's decided and I'm in alignment, it's done. And I'm a doer, okay? So I make it happen, and it is just, this is the way I like to move. This is the way I feel exhilaration from my sense of process and growth. I like it fast and big and want a sensation that feels like my hair is blown back by the process. I'm moving. Once I've decided it, I'm moving. I mean, if I decide I want a divorce, it's done 60 days later. If I decide I want to move into a new house, the boxes are packed that weekend, the lease is signed, I moved and I'm out of those boxes 2 days later in the new place. It's like it moves. If I line up, I'm doing it. But that being said, most of the people in my close nuclear circle do not move at that speed. And this is very common with us as souls because we utilize this ping pong or this catalytic aspect of each other's process to grow. So I grow, as you may, from those around me that require a sense of patience and slowing down of my own speed, of breathing more, of taking that walk, of thinking about it before I speak. I benefit, we benefit, okay? I'm speaking and using myself as an example, but also as a universal or a template or an archetype of that speed of moving, right? And so honoring someone's speed and realizing that this is in the divine perfection for them. And a lot of people are auditory processors, meaning they are using their venting, they are using their complaining, they are using their expression of the frustration as an energy processor. And so this is what they need. They need to process it aloud. They value the process. They may not be auditory solution people, meaning they may need the auditory processing so they can come up with the solution themselves. And that may be more relevant for them. And even if they are your client, honoring and recognizing that. And there have been times when Spirit has literally told me, you are not the answer to their problem. You are a path or a step, or they will take what you have said and they will take the negation of it. They need the opposite. They need you to be in opposition with what they have said or known so that it may trigger a sense of, I don't believe her. This is what I believe. Sometimes that's actually what Spirit is utilizing our comment, our wonderful advice from Spirit to do in them, and honoring that above our ego that wants a sense of what I said to be relevant for them. It may be relevant and exacting and precise, but it is relevant in the way that Spirit designs for them, not always in the way that we would choose to design it for them, right? It's always in the highest good for them and for you. So know that, honor that, and move in a space that validates their own pace and their own process. If they need to go slow, they need to go slow. That's the best path for them, right? And the way that they will get there. So you speaking, it doesn't mean you don't speak and you tell your truth. You speak when they ask, you give your advice when they ask, but you leave that pacing and that speed and process up to them in terms of what they want to do with it. Now this naturally brings me to my third piece of advice, which would be that you stay in your own alignment, not leaning forward in a space of control or ego or pressure to do what you have advised, even if it comes directly from Spirit. There is a personal alignment and sovereignty that says, my job is only to give the advice that you have requested, to be in this present moment as aligned, as on, as honest, as clear and transparent of a channel for you as I possibly can be. Then, high five, you tag out, tag team, their higher self, their light team, their guides, their ancestors, all of their angelic community on the other side of non-physical that is their higher support team. It's their job now, and they take it from here. You've done what you've done, and your job now is to tag out and stay in alignment with yourself. Because this oftentimes, and I have been there, right? This oftentimes gets us out of alignment when we start to really desire for them to choose a particular change, for them to choose a particular, we really want to see them break that pattern. We're really tired of that abuse, or we're really tired of that narcissism, or we're really tired of that drugs and alcohol, or we're really tired of their money issues, whatever. We don't want them to suffer. We don't want any more pain for them. And so it's a natural tendency for us to really root for them to make that change, to make that choice. But moving back into a space of alignment, or staying in your own observer mindset once the advice has been given, the language has been shared, the energy has been transmitted, moving back into you and fully kind of recalibrating yourself, saying, I've given what's asked to be given, and now I'm going to move back into myself and let you receive or do with it what you will, right? And this is always so good for you, because otherwise your energy starts to get drained from the attachment or the cord that you may have attached to that advice. You have to share and release, or tag out to their light team, right? Then it's on spirit. And believe me, this is their job, and they do it better than we do. Meaning this is spirit's job, and spirit and the universe and all of those that want even more for them than we ever could, that know every thought that they think, that work with them 24/7 outside of time, they do it better than we ever could. So knowing that, having peace and a sense of resolution already with yourself, that no matter what they choose, their light team's got them, and it's going to work out in the best way possible. It actually is the quickest, most efficient, most effective way for them. It may not be for us, and so we can get frustrated if we feel corded to the information that we have given. We have to give and tag out, meaning don't continue to cord yourself to what decision they make, what choice they make, if they choose to stay in that same pattern. The advice is given and released. Energy transmitted like a gift, not an umbilical cord. All right? And I know that this is difficult when they're constantly coming to you, or they're constantly in your circle. It has to be practiced. It is a practiced energy. It is a practiced pattern with you. Talk about they have their patterns. This can become our pattern, right? Of enabling, of helping, of wanting to constantly give advice, constantly need a sense of validation that our advice was important, that our advice made a difference, that our advice, we can move into this tendency. I have been there. We have all been there, right? We want it to make a difference. And that's okay. There's no judgment in it. But this is my advice, that spirit is better at it, believe me, than we are. And they are on it all the time. And whatever pace that they're moving in, believe me, this is actually the fastest and most efficient and effective way for them to learn that lesson. They're learning it exactly the way that they need to, and we are learning ours exactly the way that we need to too. So I hope that is helpful to you with my kind of 3 little bits of advice for you, with this sense of passive complainers or those that seek advice but don't necessarily take action on it. We have all been there, so I feel like we can all truly, truly relate, and hopefully it's helpful. Blessings, you guys. Mwah! I will be back here next week with another video release.